Good morning to everyone. I'm Dr. Sumi MS. The name of the course is C Programming and Data Structures, and today's lecture topic is Queue Adt from Unit 3 Linear Data Structures. On completion, the students will be able to understand the first in first out principle of queue, describe the different types of queue, and explain the various operations performed on queue. Queue Adt. A queue can be defined as an ordered list which enables insert operations to be performed at one end called the rear end and delete operations to be performed at another end called front. That is, unlike stack, they are having both ends, whereas in stack we have only one end for both insertion as well as deletion. Queue is an abstract data structure somewhat similar to stack, and it is open at both its ends. One end is always used to insert data, that is NQ, and the other end is always used to remove data, that is DQ. Queue is referred to be as first in first out list, that is the data items stored first will be assessed first. For example, people waiting in line for getting a rail ticket from a queue. Basic operations in queue. NQ operation. The term NQ refers to the act of adding a new element to a queue. DQ operation. DQ is the process of deleting an element from a queue. We must delete the queue member that was put first since the queue follows the first in first out principle. Front operation. This works similarly to the peek operation in stack in that it returns the value of the first element without deleting it. IsEmpty operation. The IsEmpty operation is used to check if the queue is empty or not. IsFull operation. The IsFull operation is used to check if the queue is full or not. Types of queue. There are various types of queue which we shall see now. Simple queue or linear queue. In linear queue, an insertion takes place from one end while the deletion occurs from another end. The end at which the insertion takes place is known as the rear end, and the end at which the deletion takes place is known as the front end, and it follows first in first out rule strictly. And the major drawback of using a linear queue is that insertion is done only from the rear end. If the first three elements are deleted from the queue, we cannot insert more elements even though there is space available. In this case, the linear queue will show overflow condition as the rear is pointing to the last element that is present in the queue. Circular queue. In circular queue, all the nodes are represented as circular. It is similar to linear queue except that the last element of the queue is connected to the first element. It is also known as ring buffer as all ends are connected together. The drawback that occurs in a linear queue is overcome by using the circular queue. If empty space is available in a circular queue, then the new element can be added into that empty space by simply incrementing the value of rear. The main advantage of using the circular queue is we get better memory utilization. Priority queue. It is a special type of queue in which the elements are arranged based on the priority. Here every element has a priority associated with it. Suppose some elements occur with the same priority, then they will be arranged according to the first in first out principle. Insertion in priority queue takes place based on the arrival as in a linear queue, while deletion in the priority queue occurs based on the priority. Priority queue is mainly used to implement the CPU scheduling algorithms, and there are two types of priority queue, ascending priority queue as well as descending priority queue. In ascending priority queue, the elements can be inserted in an arbitrary order, but only the smallest element can be deleted first. Similarly, in descending priority queue, the elements can be inserted in arbitrary order, but the largest element can be deleted first. Double-ended queue or DQ. Here, insertion and deletion can be done from both ends of the queue, either from the front or from the rear. It means that we can insert and delete elements from both front and rear ends of the queue. This double-ended queue can be used as both a stack as well as queue as it follows the insertion and deletion operations on both ends. There are two types of double-ended queue. They are input restrictor DQ as well as output restrictor DQ. In input restrictor DQ, the insertion operation can be performed only at one end, while deletion can be performed from both ends. Whereas in output restrictor DQ, deletion operation can be performed at only one end, while insertion can be performed from both ends. Quiz questions on QADT. Explain the different types of QADT. Brief out the operations on Q. Thank you.